Good. So let's talk about inspiration. So currently, how do you get inspired when it comes to create a visual aesthetic? Tell me in the chat. Hi, Cindy from DC. How do you get inspired so far? What do you do? It's a question for you. Where do you get your inspiration from? From Pinterest? From nature? Movies, music? Amazing. That could also depend a little bit on your background. Raw sites and make note of what catches my eye. Yes. New places I see, usually in foreign movies. Nice. Gardens, going outside. Yes, perfect. Nature, for me, is one of the biggest sources of inspiration, for sure, okay? There's so much to learn from, okay? Not only colors, but also like how things work, yeah? There's a lot of machinery just out of curiosity and a lot of things that work the way animals and nature and organisms work. And this is amazing to know this stuff, okay? A lot of people get inspired by nature, and this will continue forever, for sure. Pinterest, competitors, partners, Google search, other designers in architecture, movies, traveling, perfect, okay? All of these are great sources of inspiration. And today I want to talk a little bit about the art movements that you can be inspired by. And maybe you are using a lot of images and a lot of fonts and a lot of elements that are actually inspired by art, okay? So you can also feed from the source, yeah? It's normal nowadays that you don't have a training in art history, okay, because art history might not be the scope, but if you know a little bit of art, yeah, and art history and the movements, you can get really nice concepts and really nice inspiration for visual directions, okay? This one we are talking about visual design, of course. Later on, we will be doing some sort of collaborative exercise and we'll be using Figma. No worry if you don't have an account, it's an open session and I'll share the link when the time comes. So let's deep dive into it, yeah? I'm gonna do a little introduction about myself so you get to know a little bit my background. Let's talk about design and art. Are they the same? Are they different? We will take a look into the main art movements of the 20th century. There are a lot, okay? And today we will be deep diving into 3 of them, okay? There are more. You let me know at the end if this is valuable. If so, I can do a series and talk about 3 different ones every time we have a webinar and see how we can use and how we can feed from them, yeah? And also, it's nice to know a little bit the history of art, okay? Design in terms of visual design and aesthetics and so on feeds from it, okay? That's the roots, the foundation of it, okay? Cool. Designlab is hosting this webinar. As you know, I'm a mentor at Designlab. I will also introduce a little bit about myself. For those who aren't familiar, Designlab is an online educational organization focusing on helping new and established designers build their careers in digital design. Yeah, Designlab has a new courses as well now, intensive Figma, for example. So even after you complete your UX Academy, later on, you can keep on training. Yeah, it's important. I have to say, I started my career as a designer like 16, 17 years ago, and I always study and did workshops and trainings, and it's very normal. Of course, you're not always doing it, but you do it every now and then to keep up, because our field is always changing, yeah, and evolving, and it's important to be up to date, yeah. If you're interested in taking your career into design to the next level, yeah, you can reach out the admissions team, okay, from Designlab. Let me introduce myself. I started my career many years ago, as I was telling you, and I work in advertising back in Lisbon. I'm Portuguese, by the way. And I work in big agencies such as Havas, DDB, and I work with big clients like Volkswagen, Pepsi, all of these brands in Portugal that were big, that you probably don't know, like supermarket chains and so on. And I work about 8 years in advertising. it's very fast, and digital agencies is very fast paced. As you can imagine by now, okay, a little bit the difference between agencies and product. After these 8 years working in advertising, I decided to take a break and I did a master degree in design and multimedia, and I moved into UX. Okay, for my master thesis, I went into the Netherlands, and I was there doing a program, sort of like an internship kind of thing. That was really, really nice. And I learned a lot of new things at the time, a lot about innovation, working agile, everything's very new. And then I stayed there working at the UX boutique, and I did a lot of work for Philips back then. I actually went to United States because of this project. I went to Seattle. That's the place I know in the United States. After all of these years working in agencies, I moved into product, meaning I started just to design one product, and I worked in different fields. Yeah, I did, I worked a couple of years for a smart thermostat. So actually, we had the special device, yeah, and we worked the touch screen, yeah, the designs of that. So also it's important for you to know that not always you'll be designing websites and apps, okay? You could be designing any type of interfaces, yeah? And I think this will honestly evolve a lot, so prepare for that. In the past year and a half, more or less, I started to focus just on education, and now I'm a teacher and a mentor, yeah? So I don't actively work in a company anymore, but I have a lot of experience to share, yeah? And I work with Designlab for about 2 years, I think. So when I was working full-time, I was also already teaching and mentoring and so on. Good, perfect. So now that you know a little bit about me, let's kickstart this. What is the difference between design and art? Let's use the chat for it. What do you think design does, and what do you think design, how is it different from art? What is art for you? Just drop your, there's no right or wrong, just drop whatever you think it is, okay? Art is more about self-expression, yeah? And design, what is it about? Design is creation for a functional object being. More. I see more people typing, so. Art is for the artist, creator. Design is for user. Interesting. Design is form and function in a pretty envelope. Design mainly has the purpose of delivering a message. Interesting. Okay, so the first thing, yeah, wait, I already see another one. Art is for oneself, design is for the others. Interesting points of view, okay? You know, by saying this, that design is not art, okay? Being a designer doesn't mean you are an artist and vice versa. Though some people are both, okay? But they are not the same. So what's the difference? Design is what happens when people use creativity to solve problems, okay? And this could be anything. Everything that we have that doesn't come from nature is designed, okay? A table, we are not just talking about websites and apps and so on. Table, buildings, controls, everything, okay, is designed, yeah? We use creativity that all human beings have, okay, creativity, to solve problems. That's design, okay? And it could be that we solve problems visually, okay? Visual design is all about that, okay? How can we communicate a certain message? Or when you design a poster, like how can we communicate the idea of the movie? Or how can we show, yeah, we are always communicating, we are always solving problems, whatever those problems are, as designers, okay? Art is something that is created with imagination and skill, and that is beautiful or expresses important ideas or feelings. Interesting to see, some of you said that art is for the artist. Could be, yeah, some artists have this idea, yeah, it depends a lot how they work and their concept and so on. Mainly, art would be for the public, design would be for the users, okay? So this is for everybody, okay? But in art, you can also think that an artist has a certain position or a certain concept, and it's not, okay? Not all the art is supposed to be beautiful. A lot of art is supposed to be disruptive, for example, or to cause people, yeah, to feel disgusted, for example, okay? So it's a big world. Yeah. So this is the difference, okay? Just for us to have this in our minds. Now, let's take a look into the main art movements of the 20th century, like in an overview, and then we will jump into 3 of them a little bit more in detail, okay? So in here, there's a list, maybe a big list, yeah, of some of the movements, okay? There are more. I strongly recommend you to do a little bit of research. You can even use ChatGPT for this. Yeah, give me a summary of the most preeminent art movements of the 20th century, or the less preeminent. For example, there's one art movement that I really like that is called the Digital. Yeah. It's from the Netherlands. I recommend you to take a look. I really like that one, but it's kind of smaller, so I don't have it here because I also don't want to overwhelm you, okay? And I don't know your background. I don't want to make it too complex for you. So the 20th century, we have here the first one, just briefly to give you like an overview, and then we jump into the 3 ones, okay, that I was saying. Fauvism expressed the idea of they had like strong colors and fierce brushwork. Most prominent artist was Matisse, and you would see a lot of bluish kind of paintings, okay? Expressionism, it's, as the name says, to communicate, to express something, okay? We will see. The aim of expressionist artists was to express emotional experience rather than physical reality. Before the 20th century, all the art that existed was based on the reality of what our eyes seen, okay? The face of a person, an object, okay? If you go to a museum and you check all the art, like the realism and so on, is all inspired by what people see. So they were just like mimicking the reality of what they see, okay? And then in the 20th century, there started to be a lot of disruption into with these art movements that kind of, even though here they have dates, think about it as more as a culmination of it, because it could be that one artist started to work in this movement and it continues the entire life, even though there are more movements happening and so on, okay? So account for that. Yeah, it's like also like design. Not everything is set in stone, okay? Things blur a little bit and so on. So have this in your mind, just so that you know. Then we have Cubism. Do you know who is the most preeminent name of Cubism? Picasso, exactly, okay. Cubism brought different views of subjects together in the same picture, okay? So suddenly you are seeing a lot of different perspectives in one plane, and this was like completely mind-blowing. You have to think about the context 100 years ago, okay? How was life, and how was it these artists to express or to express their art in such a different way, okay? It was super revolutionary and disruptive, okay? Then we have Futurism. Futurism expressed the idea of dynamism and the energy and movement of modern life. This had to do also with the developments technological at the time, okay? Lines of production, the Industrial Revolution, and all of these developments. It feels like it was 1,000 years ago, but it was not, okay? We have been evolving a lot as a society, and you have to think like 100 years ago, life was really different. There was no internet, okay? No computers. Cars were not like this, for sure. The way we live is completely different, yeah? So at the time, imagine like when there was like the trains and all of this stuff happening was fascinating, okay? Then we have Dadaism. Dadaism developed in reaction to World War I, okay? They rejected the logic, the reason, and the aestheticism of modern capitalism, okay? So they were kind of irreverent, you know, the irreverent kid that goes against the norms and all the things that are happening. Dadaism was very important because this was at the time, I don't know if you know Duchamp, it was at the time where they had like urinal set as a fountain, okay? And they said it was art, okay? All of this was completely the opposite of what schools would train you, of how the direction of art should be and so on, and they just made a statement and they went against it, okay? So art many times is a statement, okay? Not necessarily because of the aesthetic, but it's just statements. This is a very important concept as well, yeah? Then we have surrealism. Surrealism has to do a lot of the world of dreams and unconsciousness, okay? All of these movements go along as well with other arts, okay? Like poetry, philosophy. You have to think there's a lot of things happening at the same time in a society, okay? A little bit like music as well, okay? Well, a lot, okay? All of this is going to be shaped for a lot of things happening, a lot of ways of thinking or things that are emerging in the society and so on. So surrealism was all about showing the unconsciousness, the dreams, okay? Dali is a great master of surrealism, okay? Then we have abstract expressionism, or you can think about it's the abstraction of the subject matter, okay? So this style is characterized by chaotic brush strokes and bold pops of color. It's not about representing a person anymore, okay? It's the abstracting that representation, okay? We'll take a look into it. Then you have pop art. Do you know pop art? Who do you know or might know that is very associated with pop art because he was an artist at the time? Pop art emerged in the United States, huh? Which name will come into your mind? Yes, Andy Warhol, perfect. Yes, exactly, okay? The idea of pop art was like all the movements, a little bit challenging the previous settled movement until then, or the tradition, okay, and included imagery from popular mass culture such as advertising, comic books, and then mass-produced objects. Again, it has to do a lot of how the society was evolving as well, okay? And as you said, Andy Warhol was one of the big names. Then we have minimalism. Yeah, I hear always a lot of students saying like, I want to look and feel more minimalist and so on, right? It's like one big thing. Minimalism is an extreme form of art developed in the United States in the 60s, okay? And it was composed by simple geometric shapes based on the square and the rectangle, okay? The elementary shapes. One of the big names is Mondrian, yeah? Then we have postmodernism that we are still living. I think now it's a little bit, while we are going through it, it's kind of hard to see if there's now a specific movement, okay? This stuff is more like looking back and you settle that and the dates and so on. But you can say that the postmodernism is a reaction against modernism, okay? Modernism was generally based on idealism and a utopian vision of human life and society, and postmodernism was born of skepticism and a suspicion of reason, okay? So there's always this go back and forward of something is established, then the other movement comes and fights it back, like, no, we don't believe in this, or we don't view it like this, okay? This is very important because when there is this friction is when you innovate more, okay? Is when you advance, yeah, in terms of thinking, perspectives, okay, ways of seeing life, super important. Well, this is just more generic, yeah, for you to have an idea. And also if you feel curious, you can always take a look in Google, yeah, or ask ChatGPT, yeah, to summarize your things. Now, for today, we will take a look into expressionism, abstract expressionism, and minimalism. Okay, there are more movements, again, not only just what are here, but besides that, but let's look into these ones, okay? Questions so far, before we start? Let me know. No questions? Some of you already know a little bit about art history, I see, which is nice. Yeah. Let me know if you have any question. Ah, Maria, well, good. Perfect. All right, so let's look into expressionism. If you have something to add, Maria, then add, okay? I didn't major in art history, okay? I learned from my studies in design, yeah? Okay, let's talk about expressionism. Anybody remembers what I said before about expressionism? Just before? Oh, Cindy as well. Yeah, now I'm intimidated. Anybody remembers what I said about expressionism, what it was about? The expressionism. Remember, we are just touching this, yeah, a little bit on the surface, and the idea is to see how we can actually be inspired by it, okay? To use it as a tool as designers, okay? To build concepts, visual aesthetic, direction, okay? So what is expressionism about? It's about expressing, as the name indicates, okay? So expressionism, it began in Germany in the early 20th century. It is characterized by evocative and emotional pieces that are typically abstract. The use of traditional representation was, at this time, okay, the first time, discarded in favor of communicating the emotion or meaning behind the work, okay? So it was more important to represent the emotion, yeah, and the meaning than actually the subject. Or, and when I say the subject, think about it could be whatever, an object, a person, a landscape, okay? So it's all about expressing an emotion, once again, okay? There were some protagonists that you might know, Munch, Schiele, Klee, Kandinsky, okay? And there was also a precursor called Van Gogh, okay, Van Gogh, if you are Dutch. Yeah, precursors are the artists that even before the movement start, their work was a little bit moving already into this direction, okay? If you know Van Gogh had a lot of paintings that feels like there's this certain movement, okay? There's not so much or the image, the reality of the image, but it was started to be a little bit more intense, more expressive, no, with the brushes and so on, yeah? So Van Gogh exists, well, his work was done before this movement, but it was already showing the roots of it, let's say, okay? A lot of art movements have precursors, okay? There were artists that were already in their expression kind of indicating a movement that will develop further later, okay? If this makes sense, okay? Good. I see here Cindy, faster brush strokes, they focus more on capturing their first impressions. Van Gogh is my favorite artist. Perfect. Okay, good. All right. So let's see some examples, yeah? So in here, what do we notice? The image is deformed, brutalized to communicate or favor an emotion and or meaning. What do you feel when you look into this image? What do you see in terms of visual details? Let's do a little bit of thinking, okay, on how this could actually inspire. So if you have to do a project and you wanted to be inspired by expressionism and you look into this image, what do you take from here? First of all, what do you feel? I think it's always super important. Like even with the color, when you look into a color, how does it make you feel? If you put two colors together, how does it make you feel? How does the typography makes you feel? The texture, so important, okay? Okay, I see here melancholy, sadness, depressive, yeah, noticeable. And why do you feel that? What gives you that feeling of feeling that this is depressive? Texture, shadows stand out more. What about the others that are more quiet? Muted colors on the face, yeah, gaze, yeah. What more characteristics do we see here? I see more people typing. body posture, colors, angle of the face, pursed lips. Yeah. What about the lines? Okay. Think about elements that you can also translate into the UI. Okay. The lines are super curvy. Yeah. This shows so much expression. Yeah. It's a little too much. It's almost unhuman. Okay. To have all of these curves. Okay. It feels this, sometimes it could be not even so natural. Okay. Everything is kind of have these sort of I want to scream kind of vibe. No. Good. Okay. The colors as well. Yeah. Now in here, what about this one, the first one? We still see it's a face. Okay. We still see it's a face. Yeah. But it's brutalized. Okay. It's not the face. Yeah. It's even more than the previous one. It's not the face, a normal face, let's say, that we are used to see, but we do see it's a face. Yeah. How do you feel about the first one from Paul Klee? Different vibe, no? Different colors. I'll give you a minute or two while I get here the link for us. How do you feel about these two images? Playful. It's an expression, okay? Expressionism doesn't need to be sad, okay? It doesn't mean that everything is going to be melancholic and painful, okay? It can evoke whatever feelings, yeah? Good. All right. So, and this is done through different ways, no? Yeah, through different elements. In here, there's the use of colors. You're breaking things a little bit into sort of this grid kind of thing, no? The other one, you start to use more elements, okay, that are a bit different from what was seen until now, and they can represent different things. Yeah, good. Now, if we have to say, okay, how am I going to be inspired by expressionism, that we already know that it's not about traditional representation, but it's more communicating an emotion or meaning, okay? How do you take this into your current work as a designer? And let's think always about the visual aspect of it, okay? So what things are out there that are inspired by expressionism, or that we can relate to it? Yeah, I put here something together, and then I want us to spend 5 minutes doing a collaborative board inspired by that. For example, let's look into these examples here. Yeah, this is a typeface. Can you see expressionism here? How do we see expressionism here? I'll leave you to type. It feels like it's, yeah, screaming distortion. Exactly, right? Totally that, okay? The image here, this photo is distorted, okay? We see it's a face of a person, but this is not the reality. Yet it is there. It's a person, but it's distorted. The typeface, I know this is a font, okay? Or I know these are letters, but they are distorted. They are communicating, because they have this shape, they are probably communicating like anger or scream or disruption, okay? Typeface is viewed through water. Yeah, exactly. Okay, the same thing here. Yeah, so this is text. Yeah, but it's so expressive. Okay, it's so strong. Okay, because it uses your full expression when you are writing. It's not a computer generated font like the one behind it. Okay, so we can say, okay, if you had to do something inspired by expressionism, you would pick these qualities. Okay, I saw that there's not this image of the traditional representation of things. Things are more, or should be designed more, to evoke emotions. So if you are designing something and you want to evoke this emotion, what can you do? Well, maybe I can use I can distort things. So I can distort pictures, I can distort typefaces, or maybe the composition, instead of being a grid super geometric, is kind of pushed or squeezed. Okay, this is how we can translate into our designs. Okay, now I have a challenge for us. Yeah, I created here a collaborative board. It should be open to everybody. And I want us, yeah, knowing what we know about expressionism, spend 5 minutes, yeah, go to Pinterest, take a picture if you have something at home, however you want, okay, Google it, use BS, Dribble, okay, but try to collect let's say images, okay, of things that might be inspired by expressionism, okay, things that are expressing emotions. Okay, if you see in the Fig Jam, when you enter here, okay, I see some people there. I'm not sure if everybody, well, you are not you don't have to participate, okay, but if you do, it could be fun. Yeah, let me show here. Yeah, this is what you see. First, we have expressionism, and we will do this for the others. So I'm going to start the counter, okay, of 5 minutes. I'll wait like 1 more minute to see if the others will join, okay? And let's spend 5 minutes in the expressionism, okay? I put here like the examples and to give you a little bit of indication, yeah? And spend 5 minutes, see if you can find anything that could have been inspired by expressionism, and just add it here, and then we just look at it together, okay, to see how others interpret this as well. Okay, I'm going to start a counter. 5 minutes. Yeah, starting now. If anybody is confused, let me know. But the idea is that you go to Pinterest or Dribble, BS, and try to find images that might be inspired by expressionism, that have this distortion, okay, showing these emotions, yeah, expressing something. It could be anything, a photo, a movie, a color, photography, anything, okay? And just drop it here, yeah? Two more minutes. Feel free to get some examples of screens as well, huh? Everything counts. Right. Let's start to wrap it up so we have a little bit of time to look into it. Yeah? And we have time to go through the others. Okay? All right. Okay, cool. I see a lot of images here. Yeah? Perfect. Amazing. Okay. Anybody wants to say something or yeah, we see here a lot of inspiration from art as well, but you can also collect inspiration from screens. Okay. Where could you see this in a UI, in an interface? Okay, but perfect. You're capturing these very nicely. Okay. This one, not super sure. Okay. Okay, nice. This more cubism here, I would say. More futurism here, I would say. This font, perfect example. Yeah, super expressive. It feels like it's kind of melting or shaking at the same time. Yeah, this is very trendy, this type of font nowadays. Okay, lovely here, super nice. Also the colors. Okay, I see here some UI. That's nice. Why would you say, I don't know who added here, why would you say this is expressionism here in this case? If you were the one that added here, you can write something about it. Okay. Yeah, very nice. Amazing. Okay, and here again, the font as well. Yeah, very well known painting here. Yeah, super nice here. Yeah, this is in Copenhagen, right? Yeah, what an expression. Yeah, here, this building. Good, amazing, perfect. Okay, so this is something you can, and I recommend you to have, for example, a Pinterest board. I recommend this to all my students and start collecting things. Okay, and not only you collect components or typography, you can also start collecting expressionism, cubism. Okay, and it doesn't mean it has to be paintings, it could be things inspired by it. Okay, this is important. Yeah, amazing, good. All right, now let's continue for the other two so we have time for doing them as well. Gonna go a bit more faster. Now, abstract expressionism, okay? Abstract expressionism emerged in the post-World War II New York, okay? It was the first major international art movement to originate in the United States rather than Europe, okay? Most art movements originated in Europe. France, a lot. It focuses on the abstraction of subject matter. Its style is characterized by brash, chaotic brush strokes and bold pops of color, yeah? Protagonists: Pollock, William de Noording, Rothko, and Klein. Yeah, you can check these artists as well. Now, let's look into it. Okay, into examples again. Yeah. So abstract expressionism is not connected with the reality of objects at all. Okay, it's based in geometry. Okay, and we see here as well the strokes. Yeah, that are very powerful. Yeah, they also communicate a feeling. Okay, but it's not focused on expressing necessarily a feeling. Okay, as the other one. Yeah. Here we have some examples. Okay, of other artworks. Okay, and they can be different. You can think, but how come one is so squarish, kinda, the Hokko ones, and the other one is not? Okay. The purpose of this is the purpose of this one, as I was saying, is not connected to reality of objects, is based on the geometry, okay? It focuses on the abstraction of the subject. Whatever it is they wanted to portray is abstracting it, okay? Yeah. So, inspired by abstract expressionism, as we were doing before. Some examples here, okay? So, it's not about the object, it's about the abstraction of the object. I think this is like a super nice example of it. This is a bird, but it's really abstracted. Birds are not like that, yeah? For example, the sun, the eye, all of these, okay? And all of these shapes here. In here, we have already some screens as well, okay? In here, this is the website of a very nice agency, actually based here in Barcelona. It's called Hey. Yeah, you can check it online. It's very nice. It's called Hey. Yeah. So in here, again, yeah, it's not connected with the reality of objects. It's based on geometry. Okay, I think we see that very clearly here. Yeah, it's not about representing the sun as we see or the bird as we see. It's based or inspired in geometry. Okay, so now the same challenge as before. Okay, how can we, yeah, see these nowadays? Okay, the abstract expressionism, yeah, meaning, yeah, it's the abstraction of the subject matter. Yeah, when we say it's abstraction, it means it's not symbolizing the reality that we see it. Okay, yeah, his style is characterized by brash, chaotic brush strokes and bold pops of color. Yeah, again, I did the same thing, so we can go to the board and let's see if we find some examples. And this time, let's see if we find like some more UI examples, okay? So let's go to the other one, abstract expressionism, okay? We have already here the example, yeah? It's not connected with the reality of objects, not as we see them, okay? It's based in geometry, abstracting the subject, okay? So let's give it 3 minutes. Okay, I think it would be enough. And let's do the same exercise, okay? Let's go. One more minute. All right, let's wrap it up. It's almost finishing. Good. See how different the direction it is from looking into this inspired by abstract expression and to the previous one. What a difference, okay? And when you look into something like this, you have certain things, of course, that you can take into your own designs. The color, yeah, the blocks of color here, everything is kind of floating, moving, okay? And there's expression, yeah, a lot. When you go to this one, you start to see a different direction, no? There are shapes still, it might be curves, but it doesn't have the same profoundness, let's say. Okay, so very nice. I see here, yeah, so using abstracting the subject matter. No, it's not about being a specific thing, it's abstracting that specific thing. Yeah, so we don't really understand what it is, let's say. Okay, super nice. Yeah, nice examples. Cool. Yeah, very nice. Anybody wants to say something? I see this guy here again. I'm not really sure. I would add these more, to be honest. This one I would add it in futurism for some reason. I think it's because it brings this idea of machinery and advance and so on, technological advance. Yeah, good, perfect, great examples here. Yeah, nice. Okay, good, perfect. Yeah. Maria, that was right. Okay, perfect. Let's continue then. Okay, nice to see here the different things, and you have some elements. No, the color. You have like the using the shapes that are abstract. These blocks of colors. You know, in terms of composition, in the fonts as well. Okay, super nice. Good. So let's consider these two done. Let's move to the next one, to minimalism. Okay, so with minimalism, okay, this, we all have this idea of minimalism is something that is like minimal, the minimal things that we need. Okay, this is not wrong. This comes from this idea of well, the movement of minimalism was not only in art, okay, but this idea of less is more a little bit, no? So let's go into it with the minimalism. Yeah, all right. So minimalism emerged in New York in the 60s in a continuation as a preceding diversion from traditional art. As I told you in the beginning, very normal, okay? The art movements were always opposite. They were always wanted to question, put into question everything that was happening before, how things were being done, or yeah, this is such an important thing, okay? Instead of luxury, beauty, and expression, minimalism focused on brutal geometric shapes, muted colors, and anonymity. Muted colors are like more saturated colors, okay? Less saturated. Most elements of biography or emotion were removed from minimalist art, drawing attention to the simplicity of the shape itself as the subject, okay? So it's simplifying things the most, yeah, and it's using like these very simple geometric shapes and make that brutal, have like an impact, the square, the circle, okay? So most, probably the one of the most famous one is Mondrian, okay? Who doesn't know this? Yes, imagine, yeah, in the 80 years ago or 70 years ago, that everything was kind of always surrounded with images that people could sort of relate to. Suddenly there was like this geometric pureness that was like striking, okay? Minimalism is focused on brutal geometric shapes, muted colors, and anonymity, okay? So you don't know what is the subject matter here, okay? It's about the shapes, the formal composition in that sense, okay? Being just, that is what is more important, more relevant, okay? Good. Now, More examples. Aquí, this one, Frank Stella, okay? It's the purity of shapes, no? Super strong. Yeah, this one, who doesn't know it? Yeah, super well-known artist as well, Kasuma, yeah? And it's all about the marvelous of shapes, okay? And how important and solid and brutal they are, okay? In the composition, yeah? Either is that like an installation or a painting and so on, okay? Good. So, inspired by minimalism, for example, yeah, we see here this brutal impact of the shape, okay? There's space, there's simplicity, yeah? And don't forget that you can get inspiration not only for static screens, but for animation as well, okay? For a tone of voice, for example, yeah? Mood boards or being inspired by, it doesn't necessarily just means that it's going to be reflected in the color scheme, okay? There are so much more details that you can feed from, okay? How you write things, how you animate things, what are the movements that the things do in your page, your website, whatever, okay? So don't forget that when you are collecting inspiration or creating your mood board, okay? It's not just for colors, it's for more things, it's for style, okay? What are the specific elements? Yeah, for example, a lot of big margins or rect shapes, very sharp. This could be something, a style of your designs, okay? Or just using primary colors, for example, these type of things, okay? Or imagine that you are taking a look into examples. The one from Expressionism is all about this shaky feeling or vibe, okay? So again, do not use mood boards just for color, okay? Nice. Let's do the last one. And maybe if you have any questions, yeah, we still have time. Yeah? So again, let's go back into our Fig Jam. Yeah, and let's do the minimalism one, okay? That is about brutal geometric shapes, okay? And consider having examples of screens as well, okay? I mean, you can get everything, fonts, screens, maybe even music, compositions, okay? I mean, yeah? You have minimalism house music, I think, yeah? Something like this, or minimalism techno. Yeah, all of these feeds, all of the different arts feed from each other, okay? Of course, architecture, I don't have background in architecture, huh? But architecture is like walk side by side, huh? With art many times. All right, people here gathering things, beautiful examples already, I see. Amazing, okay? So what are the details of minimalism? It's all about the shape, and the shape is brutal. And usually there are space, is simple, okay? It could also be that there is this structure, okay? Remember the paintings of Mondrian? No, it's like all of this structure, yeah? And having these little pops of color that are not super bright, okay? But it could be, you could be doing a mix, okay? So for example, if you want to be inspired by minimalism, like the art movement, and the art movement doesn't use bright colors, you can tweak it. Say, I'm going to use certain elements from minimalism, but then I'm going to use the colors from expressionism. Yeah, this is when you start to create really unique things. I know a lot of designers, young designers, their biggest struggle nowadays is how to stand out, how to be unique. Well, it's all about doing these type of things, right? If you think about your portfolio, maybe I want to get inspired by minimalism, but I want to go like the art movements a little bit against it and disrupt it a little bit. So maybe it's all about solid shapes from minimalism and very brutal with the colors of expressionism. And then you have a story to tell when you go to also to present yourself and your work, okay? And then you have to think, how do I visualize this in my website? Okay, well, maybe my projects are in these grids, okay, and I have one project here, another project at the end, or yeah, or I have like really white space and just like some circles floating that you can click and see the projects. you know, like can be endless, the ideas that you have. Okay, good. Okay, and we are running out of time. Perfect. Let's wrap it up. I see here super nice examples as well. Okay, beautiful pieces here, very nice. So it's all about the geometry. Yeah, it's so dense, so big. Okay, this feels like from DDB. This yellow and black. Yes, perfect. Yeah, this is so beautiful. Yeah, this composition here. Yeah, amazing, great. I see really fantastic examples. I think you captured the idea. Okay, so I hope from today on, great example. No, Adidas logo is phenomenal. Okay, I see here you capture really nice the idea, both the three of them. Okay, zoom out, zoom in again. If you want, take screenshots, save it for yourself. Okay, I'll leave this open 2 more hours or so, because they are really different directions. If you look into it again, look into the expressionism one. Okay, depending on which project you are doing and where you want to go. Okay, it's so different. Yeah, look into the abstract expressionism one. Yeah, all about the shapes as well here. Okay, it's not about the reality of objects, it's more to do with geometry of objects, and in here is like an evolution of it. Usually it is each art movement. Okay, it's like it's not the geometry, is the geometry, the shape that matters. Okay, and the simplicity of it that takes over everything else. Okay, good, amazing. I hope this served a little bit as a new way of thinking, of approaching things, and being inspired by art, and how you can step out of grabbing screens and look for art movements and try to mix these ideas so you can be more unique. Okay, in your projects or in your portfolio, whatever you are doing. Okay, well, okay. So it was really nice to be here today with you. If you don't know Designlab, go check the website. If you're already on Designlab, I hope to see you in more webinars, and have a nice day or evening, depending on where you are.